What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out to Tina Baker, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, Sweet Equity, Skeptic936, Sam Hain, Rune Kalika, hopefully I'm not butchering your surname, Reinhardt, Qatar Craig, Paige Love, Michael, Matt, Life is Short, Kirsten Smith, Jeranism, God Rockin', Fireball X, Felix Hung, Edwin Johnson, David Wayne Foster, Dank, Chow Young Cat, Burn Flat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Billy Highvolt, Alistair Main, and Adrian Quintana. So massive shout outs to all of you. Now, before I started the pre-show, which I've started a little early on account of the fact that quite a few people wanted to discuss the current Spurs issue. So, I don't know if you want to have at it. I've forgotten what the last question was, to be honest. Hello, everyone, by the way.
Yeah, I was just asking, so you've decided to finally put a stop to it, I see.
Yeah, I think I made that pretty clear on yesterday's show. After 6.5 weeks of listening to nonsense about air pressure, which I felt at the end of last show that anybody listening to the conversation would have appreciated, that it didn't take much intelligence to appreciate that the argument had been smashed by the way it was smashed yesterday, in my opinion.
I think in any case, whatever was brought up, whatever was discussed, and I think we can be very much more productive with the next topic, and not just keep rehashing the same thing again and again. There was quite a big debate on FE initiatives anyway, so if anyone wants to check that out, that was also the full-blown gas pressure thing. So I think it'd be great if you could, we could continue on your show, Nathan. That'd be great. Thanks.
When you say continue on this show, what do you mean by that?
Gas pressure stuff.
When you say continue, are you saying you don't want this conversation with Spurs to end? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying continue with the regular show.
Oh.
As in, go back to normal.
Oh, right. In other words, you'd like to get back to normal. Yes, I entirely agree. Fine, discuss these things. It's not like I've stopped it. No one could ever accuse me of not letting this conversation be heard. Apart from Spurs, who claimed that we had only listened to half his argument. That's what he said yesterday. It's like 6.5 weeks later. If you can't put your entire argument forward, then that's not my problem either. Not that it's the case, but you know what I'm getting at. But I just think it's dominating the conversation to the point where if there was something coming out of it, which I certainly felt was the case when, again, I said this yesterday, with Arwin was arguing his position with gravity. And you could detect that you've got two people who are in a differing position that are arguing about it, that being Anthony Riley, Sleeping Warrior, and Darwin. And I happily let that conversation roll because I felt both of them had justifiable points and reasons. And, I had at some point taken Arwin's position, and at the time I was taking Anthony's position. But out of it, we ended up with a sweet-smelling rose. So it was all worthwhile in the end. But at the end of this previous 6 weeks plus, have any of us really achieved any further understanding about anything about our world? I would say no.
I think you were more than fair.
I think the point is that you've given it enough space, and you've given the topic its fair go, and much more than its fair go. So put a pin in it and let it be. Back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of
And
people
you gave
have
him a
put,
choice. He made it.
well, a lot of people have put work in. I was going to say Flatsoid, and you're one of the main protagonists in that regard because you've gone to the effort of showing him where he's wrong, like giving him demonstrations, visual demonstrations that you've done with equipment that you're very well. I don't know if you're skilled with them. I don't know how could you. I might be useless, but you know what I mean. You're well versed with the equipment and you know what it's doing enough to make a demonstration with it, and that's all that's really needed. I called you a subject matter expert the other day, and I'm like, I don't know. This guy probably might be completely colourblind and not know how to spray. It's me endorsing you as an expert. I'm sure you are very good, but you know what I'm driving at. I have no clue to vouch for you, but yeah, I did.
Well, I think what he just said made sense. He was given the choice. He had a chance to retract. He made his own statement about the vacuum, which admitted that to have lower pressure, at some point, you had to have pressure to begin with. It was his Achilles heel. He made a mistake, which was really telling us he understood exactly what we've been saying for 6.5, 7 weeks. And all he's been doing is trolling. And when you asked him, based on his own words, to own up, he went defiant.
Yeah, and then he attacks us saying we're a cult.
Yeah, I mean, the week before he says we're in the religion. Should we start the prayers? And he elevated himself as if he wasn't like a regular here. He was attacking us, and so it was like, wait a minute, what's his MO here? What's he doing? Why is he? I mean, whether he got fooled by the mesh and got caught and made up a lie, or he was trying to fool us with the mesh, it doesn't matter. Why would anyone approach it that way? And why would anyone cover up when they got caught? It's just so disingenuous. It doesn't make it's just like a bitter taste in your mouth.
Yeah, and I mean, from when even before he played the video, I told him straight what it was anyway.
Exactly. And no one, as you said, bought into it. No one fell for the trick, and it just backfired on them. And rather than being humble and just saying, you know what, I shouldn't have tried to trick you guys. That was bad on my part, if that was the case. Or I got tricked and you guys caught me and I got to cover up somehow, if that is the case. Who knows? It doesn't matter. The point is, he was disingenuous, and every time he'd come, it was just dominating the show with his little pet peeve here with no pressure. And we're just going to move on.
Yeah, better days ahead.
You bet. Excuse me.
10th man, did you see my chemo virus movie video?
I actually woke up this morning and watched it. That was pretty nice. It was that was good. It was a good reminder of what you did with your compressor, for sure.
Yeah, I kept it short and sweet.
Yeah, and it was done nicely. So yeah, I got tired of all the ad homs.
I didn't see it. My little one's making a whole bunch of noise, which is why I've got a bit quiet.
Yeah, he just put a little, how can I say it? What he did with the compressor to music and little sound bites. So it was good, tasteful. So Don came on yesterday, and after we were asking the housekeeping questions, he says, I don't want to offer proof. I have no proof to offer, but you guys should believe the people who with higher education who go up there and tell us these things. But I don't want to offer any proof. But at the same time, we're offering proof that the people who went up there with the higher education and told us these things are violating second law of thermodynamics. The guy's just wanting someone else to think for him. But you got to have a degree if you're going to think for him.
I'm hoping we'll get Ranty and Sleeping Warrior on today. So what I did watch this morning, sorry Flatsoid, I didn't catch your video, was Ranty's expose on Rumpus. I think it was phrased as being dishonest. the more accurate way of describing what it actually would be called quote mining. But he took a paragraph, took one sentence out of it, and ignored the following sentence, which completely agreed with Anthony's point that he was making, but he just quote mined it and presented it in a biased manner that supported his assertion that gravity is a force, despite the fact that that was both Anthony's opposing position and the very next sentence out of his quote mine quote. So interesting to see what those two have got to say about it. But as I say, Ranty Flat Earth, check out the video. He just exposes that lie. He phrases it.
Yeah, I'm so happy he got caught.
Are you saying that Rumpus was quoting Anthony and misquoted Anthony, or he was quoting somebody else's statement?
No, he was quoting somebody else. So he's taken a citation that's describing how gravity is a sort of kind of force, and that's the bit he quotes. When in reality, he's next sentence. I'm just trying to find where that quote is. Just give me a few seconds. I'll see if I can find it.
It's
on Ranty. He put a new video. But yeah,
It's a master beat. Check out John's
yeah,
last post.
Yeah, I've just brought it up.
yeah, he left the most important part out on purpose.
Yeah.
You feel free if you've got it up already, Righteous Force, if you want to read it. So this is Quantum Eraser's quote from the Master B or Masturbator's Skype page. Go ahead, Righteous, if you want to read it out, if you've got it. Maybe not.
Where's Ranty? Maybe he can.
But that's it. He may be around. You'll see. Not going to get read by.
I'm there now. I'm just scrolling because he put a couple.
I don't mind reading it. I just thought it's always nice if someone else on the panel other than me does does these things. But that's okay.
Is it from John Bloomfeld, PhD?
Yeah, it starts the Rumpus, aka the Doofus, quote mined Professor.
I got it right now. All right.
Got it?
The Rumpus, aka Doofus, quote mined Professor Jolyn Bloomfeld. This is what the Doofus provided. So, to summarize, general relativity says that matter bends space-time. And the effect of that bending of space-time is to create a generalized kind of force that acts on objects. Jolyn Bloomfeld, PhD, Physics. This is the complete citation. So now we're going to read the whole citation. So to summarize, general relativity says the matter bends spacetime, and the effect of the bending of spacetime is to create a generalized kind of force that acts on objects. However, it isn't a force as such that acts on the object, but rather just the object following its geodesic path through spacetime. Yes. Convenient amnesia.
It's geodesic path through space-time. What the path things take through the conceptual medium invented by Einstein that we do not live in and does not exist. That which cannot be bent, conceptual, and is being bent in this instance to give rise to a not force called gravity. But Rumpus claimed it was a force. Can you just read the second sentence, ignored and quote mined by Rumpus, please?
However, it isn't a force as such that acts on the object, but rather just the object following its geodesic path through spacetime.
Things don't have geodesic paths through space-time because it's a conceptual medium, not real. We don't concern ourselves too much with how things travel through a conceptual medium. In the same way, if somebody claimed that the force of time dilation was going to affect us because of the way it worked in Narnia. Narnia being a conceptual place that does not really exist. In the same way, space-time is not a place that exists or in any way influences our lives. It's a conceptual medium and therefore will not give rise to any force, regardless of the doublespeak nonsense spoken by Rumpus. Now, this is in the current narrative. However, both nonsenses, Newtonian and in this instance Einsteinian, are nonsense. Both are. However, the current science is that gravity is not a force, something that's very difficult for people like Rumpus to let go. They don't like relinquish themselves of those 100-year-old narratives. But there we go. In order to retain this 100-year-old out-of-date incorrect narrative, Rumpus has lied and said that gravity is a force. And he must have seen the following sentence. He quote-mined from it.
How could you not? It's right there.
So did it get shared a little bit or no? Like I had it up briefly.
Yeah, I just read the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's nice to have a nice visual too for the audience.
Well, he's waiting for Ranty and Anthony to come on
Sorry,
the
are
show.
you just saying you want to see it on screen?
I had it on screen. I don't know if you were sharing it.
I wasn't.
I'll wait until Ranty and they come up, and they'll probably
great,
just play it again.
Well, what I'll do in the meantime, if you're not going to, I'll stick up on Skype, or if you can, I don't mind either way, but I'll stick up John's little blurb. Just give me a second. I'll get it nice and centered on screen. Oh, I can never find my mouse pointer anymore. It's so teeny tiny. There we go. So there's John's quote from Master B. Can't see it, but I know you've read it. It makes no difference, but the audience can.
Yeah.
That'll be that then.
No, that's pretty devastating. I mean, you quote part of it instead of the whole thing, and bam, you get hit.
Well, if you're on the losing side of this argument, you've got to be deceitful, lie, make up stories, refer to concepts to address problems with concepts that you reify into existence. And that's what they're doing. They're on the losing side of an argument. They've got a made-up world that they think they live in. And we're here to highlight that to them.
And yeah, you know, it's
Didn't he say like 2 weeks ago he's never wrong?
Well, he's certainly a liar and certainly deceitful and is certainly guilty of quote mining.
So we can say now he's self-projecting every time he says QE quote mines.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's projection. Projecting his own ill behaviour onto Quantum Eraser because he's guilty of quote mining.
Nathan, I'd like to get your take on what I'm going to say. I just want to drill down into the statement here. If you're going to take this position that the Globers have taken with bending of space-time, doesn't it seem obvious that they have to go into Narnia and use Narnia world language? Because if it comes to the facts and actual demonstrations of reality, they can't do it. So they have to use mumbo-jumbo words. I'm just reading this thing about space-time bending, geodesic, and the average person hearing this is going to say, wow, this is above my head. But it's nonsense. It's all made up.
Yeah, they've invented a place called Narnia. My bad, space-time. And they've started doing things to a concept in the hope that most people just won't spot the fact that they're describing how things work in a place that doesn't exist. Now, if you just automatically assume that that's your world, then you're going to go, oh, right, well, that makes sense. And then you can show the mathematics to prove it. So it's akin to me saying, well, here's the mathematics for the time dilation issues you have in Narnia. So long as you automatically assume that I mean Earth when I say Narnia, then everything's all hokey-pokey for them. You're in the reification that they want. They've got their explanation within the reification. Everybody's happy, right? Apart from us when we point out, well, that's not the real world. Sorry, that's just a load of pseudoscience stories. Not got any validity for this. It's just a conceptual medium that you're bending and giving rise to a non-force force that you can think of as a force but isn't actually a force. It's just doublespeak. Fun for us to point out. Terrible for Rumpus, who's on the losing side of this argument and has to quote mine and lie.
Yeah, exactly. So now, in order for their math to work, they do math in a made-up 4D world, not math in the real world, correct?
Yeah. They bend the conceptual medium of space-time. That's right.
Wow.
Give rise to a non-force force that you can think of as a force but doesn't actually work as a force.
So let me summarize as a baller then. I'm just going to pretend I'm a baller. So because we live in a 4D world, not a 3D world, because of Einstein showing us relativity, this is the correct math. And I could never demonstrate it to you because we're in the 3D world.
Yeah, I think Rumpus said something along the lines of the bending of the 4D world manifests itself in our 3D world. It's like, all right, do you want to show us that then? Show us a bit of space-time manifesting itself in the 3D reality that we live. That conceptual medium, reified in the very words he uses. Absolutely beautiful.
Man, this is nonsense. If I go make up like C.S. Lewis did Narnia, I could put any rules I want in there. This is all they've done.
Right, let's see if I can get Ranty and Anthony's attention. What shall I say? You are being talked about.
In the 4D world.
No, in the 3D world, we're genuinely talking about him.
No, but
that's
if you want
actually
them here
happening.
quickly, they got to
10th
come through space-time.
Say the same to Ranty. You are being talked about. Here we go. That doesn't make their ears burn. I don't know what will. Yeah, it was an interesting little turn of events yesterday, and at the end of Ranty's court session, whatever he calls it, Flat Earth Round Table Court. Hold on one second. You okay, sausage? Oh, just give me a sec.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Righteous.
Yes.
Where do you come on every day? On Discord, or do you? I can't remember if you are on both panels or sometimes on this one.
I'm in both, but I can't always be here. Like, but if I can, I try to be here.
Yeah. Well,
I'm usually on Discord after the show ends. Just a couple of ballers, some flat earthers, and we continue the discussion.
Right. So, off-air chat, kind of.
Why?
So, what brought you to Flat Earth?
Me?
Yeah. What was the main thing that got you to see Flat Earth?
Well, I started hearing about it, and I thought it was like, like everybody else, this is ridiculous, and I don't even want to give it an ear. But then it started being suggested on YouTube, and I was still like, I don't want to watch these crazy flat earthers. But then I seen a Reg Reddick video saying boats over the curve prove the Earth is round. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this because it's a all earther, right? He's sounds legit. But then after I watched that, the next suggested video was Jeranism, boats going over the curve debunked, and it was directly replying to that video. And I was like, what? So then I watched it, and it was really thorough, and I was like, wow. And I seen something that was inconsistent with what we're told, and from then on I thought maybe this isn't so ridiculous, and I just investigated from then on.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was like January 98.
January when?
98. I mean, sorry, 2018.
You took me back to 98. I'm going, wait a minute, this guy's been around a long time. That was good. That was good. So when you see inconsistencies on any subject matter, not just flat earth, but just anything, your being who you are, a big question mark goes up, right? You have to investigate. You have to check it out. What's going on here? How can it be black at the same time be white, kind of a thing, right?
Right.
Now, it's weird that similar to your story is my story, and I'm sure most people. But when we go to present it to our friends, family members, and acquaintances, we show them the inconsistencies that made that question mark rise up in our life, right? We show them the same thing. We're not making up anything. Hey, this is what I saw. This is what I struggled with. This is what I tried to disprove. I can disprove it. I'm a flat earther now, right?
Yeah.
So why is it that some people, now this can, why is it that some people can see an inconsistency and run for cover and not want to deal with it, whereas other people see an inconsistency and run towards it to uncover it?
Maybe because they've disillusioned themselves to believe too many lies.
But what's the core? Like, what made you and me seek to validate or invalidate what was being shown? And then we saw inconsistencies and we had to make a decision. And why other people don't take that first step for validation or invalidation?
Well, some people, they just want to live in their fantasy. Some people aren't interested in the truth. They just want to keep their fantasies going. And
Ego gets in the way.
it just doesn't start, like, it's a long process, right? If you like start creating more and more fantasies and start pushing yourself away from real reality, then
Well, I'm
then
actually
you're
trying
not
to.
seeking the truth. You're just basically, you're not seeking the truth, and you're not interested in the truth. If you're interested in the truth, you think you naturally accept it and go towards it.
Now,
But
see
some people
those
go the
words.
other way.
Now, see those words you just used would be similar to someone showing the inconsistencies of a ball Earth and a flat Earth, and even those words at the same person who wouldn't go towards finding out the truth, those words won't even make him go. I'm actually going deeper because I've studied people for a long time and I've been a sales trainer. What is the root cause of some people going towards it and the root cause of other people not going towards it? If I say to you, I believe it's fear, FEAR, that keeps them where they're at, how would you finish that statement?
I'm not sure if it is fear. Like sometimes some of the things that I've figured out right now, and when I'm just driving down the road and I look all around me, we're all just like, the illusion feels strong. Like when you just look at the world around you, just going shopping and simple stuff. And I think people just are in that
Peer pressure,
illusion.
maybe?
Well, that's part of fear because I am afraid what people will think of me. So here's my point. Flatso, do you own your own business or do you work for somebody?
I work for somebody, but I'm got a sideline business that I'm doing myself, trying to build up
Okay.
my own business.
Right. So you're making headway towards being your own boss, right?
Yes.
Now, that takes extra effort. You got to buy your own tools. You've got to invest time. You got to learn a trade. All these things, that's pretty obvious, correct? Did I
Yep.
lose you? Okay. So, but how many people are satisfied just working for somebody else and they're afraid to go start their own business?
Well,
What's that?
you feel if you're not really going to want to step.
Yeah, you're breaking up. I'm not getting the full.
You're good now, Flat, so I'd repeat that.
Yeah, he's got a bad connection. So I guess my point is, right, just after my short stint in flat earth and other experiences in life, I see it as fear, and it's not just in one line of fear. Like he said, peer pressure, what would people think? It covers all the bases of fear. But it's the same thing as some people who are born, they say, to be their own boss, be their own business. They can't work for others, and other people who just satisfied to work for others. It's like, will you take that step and risk? And it's at that point, I think this is what I'm trying to say here. People aren't willing to take the risk and say, guess what I saw? Just to have a dialogue even. Hey, will you watch this video and tell me what you make of it?
Okay, the only fear I can associate it, like I understand that in the point you made it, but the only way I can equivocate it to flat Earth is the fear of being called crazy. Because I had that when I first learned about the moon landing. Like, it was devastating, but I was like, oh my goodness. Like, am I crazy for thinking like this?
Precisely. No, you nailed it right there. Remember 9/11? Watching the videos, seeing something's wrong with it.
Hey, Flat
Same
Sword, I think
thing.
we've got you back. We
Yeah,
can
it's
hear you
part
now.
of waking up.
We lost you for some time
Yeah.
there, Flat Sword.
Yeah, sorry.
Have you
I
joined
think
on?
the reception's bad today.
No worries. You're right, though. Flat Earth is seeded with ridicule. You're taught as a child that people used to think it was flat, those Philistines, and that's how it's phrased throughout your time. It's always pointed to as being nuts. That's where your repressed fear of being ridiculed when you come across the obvious nature of your reality. Oh, well, that version is already somewhere in your cognition as something stupid, outdated, outmoded, and worthy of ridicule. So you're left in a position where you go, well, I recognise the obvious nature of my reality. The Earth is flat. We're not on a spinning space monkey ball. But you then instantly recognise that that's not going to be good for you if you start pointing that out to other people. They're not going to believe as you do because they've not gone on the path that you've just come on or come off to come to that realisation. So ridicule. Yeah. And you're right, and that leads to fear.
Yeah, for some people it's difficult, and for some people like us, it's like, I was so quick. I literally took me 5 minutes. I slept. The next day I woke up and it's flat.
Yeah, same here. Even less time for me. But yeah, for some people it takes a long journey of picking apart what they thought they knew and how strong they were in that belief, and they start off with that particular position that we've just detailed. In other words, they'll come to it and go, oh, you bloody idiots. In other words, they'll play out that repressed ridicule that's been programmed into them from birth when they come across the notion. And that's the whole point of programming people with that idea. So that is their natural reaction. There's very, very few people that will come to the idea and go, wow, I already knew it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a few people that have said that to me, that they appreciated it already, they just didn't know why or what they were appreciating. But then something was up, something was wrong, then they come across this information and like me, you go, that's it. I already knew it. I'd already seen it. I'd already been asking these questions before coming to this subject.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And I told my wife, I said, but I'm going to go to disprove it because this is resonating so strong with me right now that I got to come into this with open eyes because I want to go there now. I mean, I was holding myself back because I already knew it,
Right.
And I couldn't disprove it because I knew it. And I knew I would have to give a story about it once I
I
got
couldn't
there.
disprove either.
I mean, still to this day, to certain people that are close to me, they think I'm crazy. And I say, look, I came into this knowing I would have to defend what I'm about to say. And I went to disprove it for people like you in my life so that I could say I actually did try to disprove it and I couldn't. Now, will you please take the test and disprove it?
Yeah, how will you know what's genuine if you don't take the challenge? You don't challenge your viewpoint. How will you know it's true?
Yeah, I mean, if we're seeking the truth, that's what you want at the end of the day, even if it means you have to admit part of your philosophy is wrong or half of it is wrong. You still want the truth. I mean, that's how I'm built. Well, almost 7 minutes till showtime.
6 minutes, yay. Then we can just get the answers of no.
Right, housekeeping.
Well, it's a good. They keep coming back for a reason, right? Let's give them the reasons.
Yeah, I wonder when they're going to change their housekeeping rules again.
When I talk to the ballers on Discord, I don't try to convince them. I just practice debating back and forth with them. Because
Yeah,
the more
they're already-
dedicated ones are pretty set in their ways.
yeah, you get those that are true ballers and those that are just plain out. They know it's flat and they don't want to.
Yeah, like this quote from Rumpus this morning, quoting half of a statement and not the second half. We can use that to affect someone else's understanding of what a true baller does when faced with the truth, rather than looking at that quote and saying, this guy says the same thing that the guys at the Nathan Oakley channel say. I better not quote him. No, he decides to quote the first half, but leave the second half alone. So it's like, I could use that. I could say, look how he picks through his information to keep you in the dark.
The sad thing is they're always complaining, cherry picking.
Exactly. Good point. And really, I hope they change that because I like cherries.
Wait, you got that wrong. You got that wrong.
Go on.
He didn't leave a part out. He completely changed the wording around.
Yeah, okay,
Like-
good point.
Like he changed, where was it again?
Yeah, he changed the document totally.
Yeah. Okay, let me find it.
Now, this
'Cause he
is
was
the
so-
rump. This is the same rumpus. Air is not the atmosphere, and at 5 miles an hour at the equator, he's experiencing Coriolis, right? Same guy?
Yep, the same one that's never wrong.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that explains it all.
Yeah, because I think Ranty said that they were supposed to give their part of their documents and stuff before the show started, and Rumpus never gave it in.
Yeah.
He only supplied it live, and that's the reason.
Oh, wait, I'm looking at it again. Actually, no, he didn't change it. He did leave out something. Okay, I found it. Yeah. That's why it's nice to have the thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he left the second line out, right?
Well, either way, it's not true.
Yes, gravity is not a force.
Yeah, their own site says it.
Okay.
This bank account has no money, but we keep going to it.
You can think of it as a money.
Yeah, it's like I live in the 4D world, so I could keep my spinning ball Earth, Muppet Vision religion going. And don't bring me back to the real world with true quotes. Please don't do that.
It seems like the better ballers at debating. Well, I shouldn't say it like that, but I noticed some ballers are saying instead of going through space time, they just stop at the phenomenon they see. And to me, that's a better argument because as soon as you go to space time, I think you're done because there's no way to validate or invalidate that concept.
Yeah, but one thing I've realized with ballers, they think experimental design is the same as scientific experiment, and it's totally two different things. But they don't
Well,
seem to understand that.
Actually, I like what you said. Better ballers are ballers with respect and manners. That's what
Yeah,
makes
but
them
I
better.
shouldn't say that because then I'm condescending other ballers. So
No, you're calling it as it is. Other ballers get on here and they like you choose who your friends are and vice versa. You're not going to choose to hang around someone who's condescending. I mean, I can't imagine ever hanging around Rumpus all my life. He's just so difficult to talk with.
He's one of those guys that just always want to be in control.
Morning, peeps.
Hey, good morning, Chocolate.
Hey, Chocolate.
hello, chocolate.
You. Righteous. Hello again.
Yeah, so to be a baller and have some manners, I don't mind that because you have a decent conversation. But to be a baller and be rude and change
Yeah,
quotations and make up stuff, well, it's not going to be long. It's not going to be a friendship there.
I've had some good debates with genuine ballers that just are respectful, and then I've had, the troll kind.
Yeah.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, Flatzoid and Righteous Force in the G+. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Right, Nathan, one thing.
Good
One thing,
morning.
you weren't you supposed to say nature of Earth?
Ah, god damn it. Yes.
That's all right. It's a habit.
It's a habit. After about 900 times of saying it, sometimes you don't think about it. And I started the show and my unmute button didn't work. So I started talking and I didn't see the lines flashing and that just threw me. So that's probably why. Yeah, the nature of Earth as opposed to the shape of the Earth. As we haven't got a clue of the shape of the Earth, and if people want to argue that it's got a shape and is flat, then we'd probably argue against them. So that's why it's now changed from the shape of the Earth, which is what I just said, to the nature of Earth. Anyway, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No,
My
haven't
favorite
seen
word.
it.
My favorite word. No.
All out of sorts. I also didn't introduce the people on Discord. Hello, everyone on Discord.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just
Hello.
unmuting them all now.
Thank you very much. Good to have you all. That's quite a few in
Hello.
there. Sorry, Earth curvature. Any signs?
Hello.
Nothing here.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Any
So
scientific
so-
evidence of gravity?
No, I think he's trying to ask a question, Flatzoid.
Yeah. Sorry. I just had a. It's more of a question regarding Earth curvature. Because I was wondering whether I don't know if you guys noticed. chemtrails, relatively, when you look at them, really far on the horizon when there's a very big sky, very blue, very clear. These chemtrails are extremely flat. I mean, extremely straight. And I was wondering, when QE was talking about the plane having to nosedive, well, I mean, shouldn't these chemtrails always be, show curvature, especially when it's on very long distances? Just a question.
No, what you
No,
see
that's
is,
a,
Yeah.
well, you see
Well,
the
I've taken
apparent.
a few.
You're just going to see the
I've taken
apparent
a-
position. So
yeah.
from your vantage point, it's when it's above your head, it seems like it's high in the sky. Whereas when it's disappeared from your vantage point, it looks like it's near the horizon. So it's anything but straight. You're just seeing the apparent path that it takes from your vantage point. So it's not really useful for proving anything, in my opinion. But if anyone wants to disagree, feel free.
Yeah, like I said, I've done a few observations with chemtrails actually here, and most of the times you can see it actually just goes straight with perspective. It converges. So, but yeah, I think it's just begging the question to say it's curving.
No. Well, I think it should be flat, actually. And
yeah, he's saying the opposite. He's saying it is straight and flat. That's what he's saying, flat side.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
and I think if you would look at it at an angle, I mean, suppose it's really close to the horizon and it's sort of parallel to the ground. Shall we say? You're not looking at right straight up, really above your head, but really at an angle. I mean, shouldn't it always be curving? Always, and show curvature because it's on such great distances?
That's what I'm saying. It does.
Yeah,
It
and it
appears to be
doesn't.
curving.
Yeah.
It appears to be curving from your vantage point.
Okay, well, to me, not always, but
Well, fair enough. You're right. If
To
you
me,
travel
it's-
along the
it's
horizon,
very
yeah,
obvious,
it
right?
might not curve from your vantage point.
okay.
He's got a point if you take the Globetards argument about the ships disappearing from the bottom up. So they're saying that's the start of the curve, right? So in the sky with the chemtrails, how come it's not happening with them?
But I wasn't
I
thinking
with the
think
about
this is what he's.
going.
I think this is what he's trying to say. Even though it's
towards
with the
horizon.
chemtrails,
Hold on, let
it's
me
a
finish.
linear
Hold on,
drop
hold
into
on, Righteous Force.
perspective.
Hold on. Carry on, my
Can I
friend.
just clarify?
What's your
I
name?
was-
Sorry, is it Mark?
Mouston.
Mouton. Okay, go ahead.
No, I wasn't. Just to clarify, I wasn't thinking about a chemtrail that's going, let's say, from above my head towards the horizon. I was thinking something that is perpendicular. So something that is crossing my field of view, really close to the horizon.
Sure.
And in that situation, to me, I don't see any curvature, and I think you should, because
I
it's
see what
such
you're
great-
driving
Because
at.
there is no curvature.
I get what you're
Well
driving
said.
at. It's just weak on account of the fact that you'd have to gather all the data from the plane, and you're describing how it appears to you. So yeah, I see what you're saying, and you're right. But in the same way, I would argue the same point with someone using the actual horizon itself and saying that's completely flat. It's like, well, so what?
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Nathan,
Yes.
do you remember those turbines when somebody modeled them out 3D and it showed an accumulative drop, but when compared to the Ranty ones, it was like a linear drop towards like matching perspective?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the
That's
same
what he's
thing.
basically saying too.
I appreciate-
We see
I
only
do
a
understand what
linear
he's saying.
drop matching perspective.
Yeah, I get it. He's saying that if you saw a plane that from your position was, I don't know, if it was a picture, it would be a couple of inches above the horizon, and you just watch it go from your left to your right. Well, what you're saying is, given the distance that it's travelling and the speed that it's travelling,
Exactly.
it should demonstrate a curve path because it's travelling around a curve, and apparently, according to them, staying perpendicular with the force of gravity and all this kind of nonsense. Therefore, it should display itself curving. I understand what he's saying. I just think at best it's not that strong. That's just my opinion, though. I'm sure maybe other people would bet the farm on it, but I just wouldn't myself.
Hey Nathan,
Yeah.
maybe you could present
Yeah.
my screen for a second. Talking
Who's
about-
eating chips? All loud.
It
Man.
could be Could be you. Is it near you? Locally, maybe? Right, I've got your picture presented. You'll have to check on the live stream if you're in Discord. Arwin.
Wants to be.
Arwin. You're
Yeah?
on mute, my friend.
I'm on mute?
And I don't know, you said I've got something presented, so I've stuck it up and now there's silence.
Oh, it's just the picture. The picture just says everything.
Yeah,
It
you've
was,
got
I think, Flatsoid put it in the Master B a while ago, and I thought it was really good. Now we're talking about curvature, and I thought it was very fitting picture for that.
Very
But
good.
I can talk about what is seen, if you like.
Who's making all the wind noise? Someone in Google Plus. Keep your mics closed, please, if you're not talking. Is that you, 10th man? I think it's you
No,
with
it's
a
coming-
mic on a headset and you're breathing down it. Anyway.
No, it's coming from Discord. It's coming from you.
Anyway, try and keep your mics closed if you're not talking, please. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Thank you. Good example. Food for thought with the with the chemtrail example.
I think it should
Any
be
scientific
noticeable.
evidence of gravity.
Oh no, we got more. Go ahead, Righteous Force. Sorry, I did stop you for the other guy to complete
Well,
his point. Go
I
ahead.
say I think it should be noticeable. Like even the clouds themselves, they always appear only flat. There should be like
Yeah,
some
even with the 1 degree.
noticeableness of a ball in the sky when it comes to like clouds and chemtrails. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
So we can move on if you want.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
I
Sorry,
agree
even
with
with
you,
just
but
to
1
finish my
degree.
point.
it's not like it's
My
a.
point was just that it should never be straight. That's my, that's the
Yeah.
last point I want to
Now that's a different way of phrasing it. Now that I can get behind a bit more, because yeah, that's
No, you see what I mean?
yeah, that I prefer. That I can get behind a lot more. It should never be straight. You think, yeah. I mean, obviously, if they were taking a slightly, they were, how would you make it straight? Presumably, you'd have to dive towards the ground slightly and then curve back up again in order for it to produce a straight line from your vantage point. So I like that a lot better. It should never be straight. You should never see straight lines that, whatever they call them, contrails, chemtrails, coming out the back of planes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Cool, I like that a lot more.
It goes together with QE's nosedive, whatever argument there. One of his 10 points, I think.
Right, if they're following the line of the curve, then that should be shown in the smoke. The problem is, or whatever it is, I don't know what the contents of that is. I'm sure some people would argue with me all day about what's in that smoke. But like a cloud, it's not like it's a building, with a nice square edge to it or something. It's a cloud, right? So again, it's just a bit.
Well, should never be straight.
To the eye of the beholder.
Well,
okay.
I think with proper curvature, if it was really there physically, then any plane flying over should always be looking like they're nose diving as they approach the horizon and then literally slip behind it. They would never
Nathan.
disappear, getting smaller and smaller into the distance. That just wouldn't happen. They would go
Nathan.
over the curve. Right?
So
And
Arwen,
Nat-
as a pilot...
Thanks for letting me finish my point.
Oh, hold on. RC Romley, he won't be long. Go ahead, Arwin.
It's just done.
Go ahead, RC Romley. Now I can actually read your name off the screen.
So Arwen, you made an assertion that it should look like it's diving towards the horizon. Why do you make that point?
Well, I made that claim based on the presupposition that the horizon is the leading edge of a curve. And then if I take into account geometry, the plane should never disappear into the distance going smaller and smaller. No, they should literally at some point just go over that horizon and disappear behind it pretty abruptly. Not very, very slowly, very gradually.
Can you demonstrate this about why it...
That's a natural consequence of geometry.
That's not what he asked.
No, I can't demonstrate it because the Earth is not a freaking globe. It's a conceptualization. That's the whole point.
Yeah, he's kind of got you there. How's he gonna demonstrate that if it's not a globe? Unless you
I
start
know-
formulating
You
logical
could
fallacies.
CGI render a globe and then try to emulate it, like we did back in the day with Chris Monksanya and all.
God, no. I'm not comparing up models. Who cares?
I know how to demonstrate it.
Okay.
I know how to
Go
demonstrate
on then,
it.
10th man. Hey, you might get your answer, MC Romley. RC.
Here we go. Muppet vision.
Put it inside profile.
Yep.
No, that just confuses everything more.
Well, that's how they do it.
Okay, well, I just want to point out that RC Romney's
But I was already ignoring perspective.
No rumpusing. RC has got you all by the balls just by asking you to show that. So just want to point out he's going to take a victory from this.
What, my lack of evidence for a globe Earth?
Yeah, well, no, your lack of evidence of demonstrating that which you claim. It should do this, that, and the other. All right, can you show that? And your answer is no. Well, your reasons are perfectly justifiable, but he still wins, doesn't he? You can't demonstrate it or prove that which you presuppose would happen if it was a sphere. So we lose for the same reason they lose, and it's the very reason it's the very reason I tell people don't beg the question for them.
Okay, well, let me reverse the burden then in this case and ask, could you please demonstrate a model of a globe in which things will gradually disappear in the distance and become no longer visible before they even approach the horizon?
Well, if he can. So he shows you that. Does that prove anything? No. Models are pseudoscience. That doesn't prove the world we live in.
But how is he going to show that?
Who cares? He can't, we can't.
Okay.
But
You
you're
were the
not,
one making...
He can't, we can't. It makes no difference if you reverse the burden of proof, right? It doesn't make any difference to what can or can't
and
be
you were the
proven
one
in this
making the claim,
instance.
Owen.
But he's the one who challenged you, Arwin. So as much as it's nice to say, well, I'll just reverse
Okay,
that.
goody. I'll just not talk anymore.
I'm not saying don't talk. You just picked up the bat from the guy in Discord, and I said, I don't think it's a great argument. Baller comes in. Within 5 seconds, he smashed the argument. Well, that proves my point, doesn't it? I'm not saying you've done anything wrong, Arwin. Far from it.
I was only presupposing the globe. Sheesh.
Well, sheesh. I lose because I presuppose the globe. Yeah, well, you'll lose the same as they will, Arwin, unfortunately, in this case. And, you know, it's nice that a baller's had that win because he saw how easy it is for us.
It's a good point.
Well, it's not really fair when their model is shape-shifting.
Well, I also point out, like, I don't need to scream at Arwen to get him to, like, defend his argument. I'm not trying to necessarily get a win.
Would you concede that you were wrong, Arwin?
No.
Well, then you're not going to make the next point I was going to make. Thanks a bunch.
Well, why would I concede a conceptual thing just because I don't have any physical proof for it?
Because you don't have any physical proof for it. Well, that's the reason, isn't it? Because you don't. I'm just saying that you can't demonstrate that which you claim because you can't physically demonstrate that which might take place on a model that we reify into being existing, i.e. a globe. Well, you can't do that. Well, that's not unreasonable for you to concede that you can't do that.
Why couldn't I conceptualize why something would happen on something conceptual?
Oh god, this is why maybe I'm being unreasonable to the globe heads, because it's just a pride thing, because Arwin now can't concede. I was going to make the point that the reason it normally descends into a blazing row is because typically the globe heads won't concede when they're incorrect. Now, given that Spurs and now Arwin's completely pissed in that face of that idea, I haven't really got a leg to stand on here, have I?
Ha! Now it's your turn. No, it's just...
Well, thanks, Arwin. I was going to held us on a pedestal as being able to concede and having some humility, and you failed to do that, which means I can't now make that point. So we're just as bad as them. Great, that's wonderful. Thanks, Arwin.
No, we're not.
Yeah, but
well, so you would concede then, Arwin?
To what?
That you can't demonstrate that which you claim in this instance. Only in this instance, nothing personal.
Well, I can't demonstrate it right now, but I could think of a way to potentially demonstrate it.
That's just being weaselly now, isn't it? So you're still not getting to make my point.
No, that's called honesty. Honesty with progress.
Okay, I won't make my next point. I can't now, can I?
No.
But also, can I use this and say, like, I'm not upset yelling
You're breaking up.
that I have a point.
You're breaking up. Either get closer to your mic or I don't know what you need to do, but you're breaking up.
He's going over the
Sorry
curve.
about that.
Try that again. MC? RC?
Yeah, can I just say that I didn't need to yell at Arwen fact that like I
No, but I'm about to if he doesn't concede
Wrong.
soon.
What?
well but
I already
don't think he
already
conceded
did.
that. Like, I think
No, you didn't. You said rather than conceding, you said I could conceptualize it. You're basically you're doing what they do instead
You
of going,
didn't get
yeah,
my
you're right, I
last
can't
part.
demonstrate
I said,
it, even
no,
though it's
I
not
can't
even.
demonstrate it.
No, you're talking
I said
through me.
it's
Even though it's not your model and you're not even fighting for that cause, you still can't concede that in this instance you can't demonstrate that which you claim, which makes your
just
assertion
did.
incorrect.
I just did.
Did
I
you?
said I can't demonstrate it right now. But I could think of a way that I could potentially do it, but not now.
it's a timestamp concession.
If you say so. I would just call well, okay, I'll have to agree to disagree. I wouldn't call that a concession, but maybe this is where I get a little bit more lightened in my approach, because this is human nature, right? This isn't bull believing zealots in their nature because of being bull believing zealots. It's human nature. Pride. What a bitch.
It's like a boxer who loses a match and says, "I want a rematch."
Oh, rematch with blood pouring out of their face. That's how I see the ballers. People like Bob, the fallacy guy. You know, he's left with blood dripping off his face, humiliated. And then he comes back. I want a rematch on my terms, in my ring. Funny.
It's just hard to argue with perspective because it's optics. I mean, it works both ways sometimes.
Where's Ranty and Anthony? I want to talk about their tete-a-tete with Rumpus and the expose they produced, or Ranty produced, I should say. Check out Ranty Flat Earth channel. Go and subscribe today. So they did a little expose on his latest show, Spin, which is Ranty's Flat Earth Roundtable Court, I think. Anyway, Ranty's Roundtable, check it out, because he had Rumpus on and he quote mined quite blatantly. And then this morning Ranty did a little video about how he'd quote mined, what he'd quote mined, and how that made him a liar. It was very amusing. And I've said this many a time, it's because they're on the losing side of the argument. They've got to lie. They've got no option to actually be genuine in their approach, because they can't be. They're not on the winning side of the argument. They don't live on a reified ball, and they've got to lie through their back teeth about certain things that don't make sense, that don't add up, that are in contradiction with other positions that they've taken up until now in the debate. This main one being gravity being an attractive force, which it isn't. So Rumpus has said yes it is, and then pulled out a quote which in the next sentence completely contradicts and agrees with Anthony, completely contradicts Rumpus in his assertion that it's a force, as it makes it overtly stated that it isn't Anthony's point. So at the end of the discussion, it seemed like it was kind of fairly evenly matched based on what Rumpus has said. Now, I didn't know at the time that was a quote mine quote, but as far as it was presented to the audience, I agreed with Ranty's summary at the end. But then when you find that out, you're like, wow, the guy's just lied through his back teeth, quote mined this thing that supports his position of gravity being a force, even though the next sentence says it quite clearly. It isn't. You know, it would have absolutely swayed the argument in Ranty's favour, but instead he chose to lie, be deceitful, quote mine, all the things he accuses people like Quantum Eraser of all the time. You're like, wow, isn't this telling? It's just projection.
That's all they got. They got no facts. They have to do it.
You're out there, Rantony. Come on the show.
Did you say Rantony?
I did.
That's what I heard.
Wow.
The fusion version of Ranty and Anthony. That's hilarious.
That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah. I prefer them as a separate individual.
Yeah, but in this instance, they're kind of joined at the hip. Not typically, just in this instance.
Shall we continue housekeeping?
Yeah, sure. We've got one question
Any
out
signs?
so far.
Yeah, only one question.
Wait a sec.
Yeah.
I want to ask RC, are you the guy that debated red pill philosophy a few months back? RC Meisty. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's go on, 10th man.
Yeah, I
Wait.
think
No, he answered. He said
pretty-
yes. Hold on, 10th man. He said yes.
RC, you cut out.
He said yes.
Sorry, yes, I question.
Okay, it's nice to have you on. Because you sounded very familiar.
All right. Any signs of
Yes,
axial rotation of,
the one.
of the Earth-based variety?
No.
Hold on, man. Sorry, this might be going somewhere.
I didn't hear the
Weren't you the
question.
guy that said you saw?
Did you confirm
I
that
didn't
you
hear-
talked with Red Pill Philosophy?
I with Red.
Oh, you're cutting out really bad.
Yeah. But he said yes, as far as I get it.
Okay.
Sorry, 10th man. You carry on. Sorry to cut you off.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety that's messing up RC MyC's reception?
What?
No.
No.
It's just easier to say no.
Okay, that's what he's going to say.
No, I was going to say my coffee cup is accelerating.
Oh, that's right. Good one.
Right. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
Nope.
There's no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
Any scientific evidence for gravity?
No.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
What's gravity?
Where's Ranty and Sleeping Warrior? Right. Talk to me yourselves. If you can continue housekeeping, I'm going to see if I can get hold of them.
Yeah, no problem. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope, just
Yeah.
cartoons in my textbooks.
That's when you
That's
come.
They got a lot of echoes of
That's
something.
when it comes up.
You want to elaborate the echoes?
Yeah, they send in sound waves into the ground, and then they can distinguish between like harder rock formations and more looser rock formations. And yeah, when they reach really deep, they can't really affirm what they're scanning is what they think it is. But that is, at some point, they just assume like, yeah, over here we're sensing this kind of change, so it must be where the molten part starts. That kind of shit. And
You were
that's
you
how.
were
Sorry.
you were saying something the other day, Arwen, about the molten part not being magnetic. Why don't you tie it to that as well?
Oh right, yeah. That was such a ridiculous loop. But yeah, because of course the Earth's magnetic field is created by the molten iron core, and
Yeah, so how
molten
can
iron
molten
core is there
Perfect.
because of the magnetic field. It has to be.
Sorry to interrupt you. Hey, Ranty. Thanks for joining.
Hiya, you're right. Yeah, I was listening to the show, but I was up a ladder, so I
Fair
didn't
enough.
get a time to join.
No, that's cool. We've got you on Skype, so that's good enough for me. So, you obviously heard that we were discussing the video that you released this morning. So, a quick plug, go and subscribe to Ranty Flat Earth channel, and you can watch this video. I don't know what the title was. You tell us.
Oh, what was it called? Contempt of Court, Rumpus in Contempt of Court, or something like that. That's what I titled it this morning. Hello?
That's
yeah.
a good catch on your part to catch him on that.
Just fill us in. I know you've heard us discuss it anyway, but just repeat it. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do something different, as you know. So I'm evolving the platform, all the time. And I came up with this new idea of having this taking people to court. So the idea being that, if you go to court, you tell the truth. And I was very specific in telling the rumpus, probably half a dozen times in the Skype call, that he must answer correctly. He don't lie. Just be honest. Just be normal. Just be, if somebody asks you a question, what colour is the sky? It's blue. Yeah, right. Okay, great. So I was very clear with that. And then they had the debate, obviously. Well,
stands for Customer Relationship Management.
What?
I don't know what that was. It's not me.
So anyway, the court thing happened. I think I'm going to do a couple of tweaks on that anyway. But the main thing was that there was no real winner. So essentially, if you had to say anything, Anthony took Rumpus to court. So essentially, Tony didn't prove his claim. So Rumpus got away. So that's how it goes. The problem being that one of his citations that he used, he absolutely quote mined. He used a part of a paragraph. So there was 2 sentences in the particular paragraph. It was at the very end of a detailed document that was explaining about gravity and Newtonian gravity, etc. And specifically at the very end of this entire document was this one paragraph, and it summarized everything. So Rumpus took the first part of that, the first sentence, and omitted the second sentence. In the very next sentence, the second sentence says, but actually it's not a force. And he was quote mining to say that it was a force, because it said that in the previous thing, he could misrepresent it to make it sound like it was a force. But in the very next sentence, it completely said, it is not a force. And obviously when I saw that this morning, I released the video and exposed him, because essentially, look, I want honesty. How difficult can it be for people to just tell the damn truth? I'm going to keep saying it. How difficult can it be, Nathan?
Well, very. If you're on the end of a lying system about the world you live in and you believe in it, then you're going to find yourself either lying because you have to, or lying inadvertently because you don't realise the contradictions within your own
The irony
fairy tale.
and the hypocrisy of you two.
Oh, right. Is this going to get projected onto us now, is it, Dawn? No comment on the Rumpus and his quote mining, just immediately project it onto us, eh?
Well, you drifted into calling other people liars.
You, again, projecting it onto us, talking about us.
No, not calling other people
remind you that
liars.
you two
Pointing
are
other
Two strikes.
people's lies out. That's
Two strikes. He's again started his sentence with you, as opposed to Rumpus, the one who's lied.
You guys lie every day.
Yeah, third strike. So 3 times you've projected this onto us, Dawn. What's the issue? You can't possibly accept that Rumpus is a lying sack of garbage who's quote mined. You're not going to talk about that? Just project it onto us 4 times, maybe? 5 times? How many times are you going to project it onto us? We're talking about Rumpus and his quote mining and his lies. If he'd have actually presented that information as stated by the person he quoted, which he absolutely had to have read, that it agreed entirely with Anthony's position, but he lied. And you're not going to mention that. You're just going to keep projecting it onto us. What we're up to now, 4 times?
No, I'm just reminding you that you're also liars. That's all I'm
that's
saying.
5. 5 times he's projected this onto us. Problem with
Nathan,
this,
can
Dawn?
I interject?
Don't like your priest being challenged, eh, Dawn?
Stop with this.
Don't like your
You
priest being
started the
challenged.
topic of lying, dude. You started the
About
topic
what?
of lies.
I thought Rumpus was I thought it was the first time Rumpus was honest, and I'm a flat earther. It was the first time that we've ever had a baller admit that there is between the 4th dimension and the 3rd dimension, that this gravity is where they get this gravity is from the 4th dimension, and they pull it into the 3rd dimension. It's the first time they've ever actually been honest and stated that this is all theoretical science, that Einstein was a theoretical scientist, that Newton was a theoretical scientist, and that all of this is theoretical and it's not natural, and it's all, it was the first time he ever admitted that, and I thought that was great. And you heard Jose yesterday even mention that about the 4th dimension. They actually admit that this is all theoretical for the first time.
David? But these guys are hung up on the Wasn't that one the whole misquote, point? calling it a lie, obviously.
But they don't have to concede to that yet.
Dawn, do you have a problem with Rumpus lying about something like that?
Clearly.
No, if he actually did misquote one thing and you're calling that a lie,
No,
I'm
quote mine.
claiming that
No,
that was
quote
inspired by you
No,
lying
there was-
every day.
no, no,
about
he
flat
had
Earth.
a-
You worked
pulled out
them
a
up
quote.
into the lies because you lie every day about flat Earth.
It's not listening.
That's what happens.
That's not what we said. Dawn's now misrepresenting us. Quote mined. Quote mined.
Yeah,
I'm
what he had
represent-
was
I'm representing
he had
my
a PDF
opinion of you.
document. So he had a PDF document, and he'd had all these citations clipped out, a bit like what Quantum Erasure does. So he snips things out in quotes with the reference where you cited it from, etc. So he was very
You mean
clear
he
on
lied
what he
like
did.
Quantum
He
Erasure
took
does?
He took just the first sentence and clearly omitted the second sentence, which was out of context. If it didn't make any sense, when you apply the second sentence, it makes perfect sense. When you apply the second sentence, it backed Tony's argument completely. Simple as that.
You're guilty of quote mining as well.
Hey, Don, are you here specifically to try to...
Six times he's projected this onto us. So immediately doesn't address anything Ranty said, but just immediately projects it onto us 6 times. So you've done that so far, Dawn.
Oh, I addressed it. He said he compared it to QE, and I agreed. It was similar.
So that's 7. So you've now projected it onto QE. Yeah, Rumpus is who we're talking about. You haven't mentioned his name.
Now I'm reminding you that you do it as well, and Riley does it.
Now he's talking through me. I'm just going to point it out every time you do it. You're projecting this onto us, Dawn.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
We know.
Way to go! That's real shit.
You're projecting it onto other people, and I'm here to project it back onto you. That's what's happening.
Don, that's real shit tactics, brother.
Yeah, and what are you doing?
You're just
why don't you be honest and call out your man that blatantly quote mined something? Why don't you do that and be honest for a change?
Can't. So anyway, we've been joined by Sleeping Warrior, the man of the hour. How are you doing, Sleeping Warrior? Very good to have you.
Good stuff. I can go back to work now.
Thank you, Ranty. Thank you very much.
I have been listening. I listened to what was being said, but I want to remind people that I gave Rumpus his pre-advice.
Oh, we've lost you, Anthony. You gave Rumpus his pre-what?
I mean that here, so.
Advanced disclosure. I have to say, huh?
Sorry, can you start that again? We lost you halfway through.
Rumpus. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can now.
Rumpus got from me. Rumpus got his advanced disclosure. He knew what I was going to say. I didn't know what he was going to respond with.
Okay, what I got from that was you gave.
He was blessed with knowledge that he was fast.
Okay, this is. It's.
He's got to get out of bed.
I got from that you gave advanced disclosure of what you were going to argue. He provided absolutely nothing, and then all you got to deal with was what you had on the spot.
Correct.
Yep.
So obviously the advantage was very much with him. I mean, I gave him, because I think fairness is the way forward. I think that it's right that he gets to know what my point's going to be. And it's right that I get to know what his point's going to be. And I'm not making a big deal about not knowing, because it's the first time we've done it. But the advantage was clearly with him. It was not with me. Yeah, look what he did with that advantage.
Well, he managed to get a draw.
Well, he managed to get himself off with it, didn't he, initially? But in reality...
No, I'd say Ranty's assessment was perfect. At the end, he was like, well, I see this as a fairly even, it's still up in the air. And I agreed with him. I nodded along, and I was like, yeah, that's a fairly reasonable assessment, I would say, based on what was said. But I didn't know where that quote came from. It was new to me, obviously new to you.
Well, I hadn't even cited Julian Bloomfield or whatever. He said that I'd cited him. I have had a conversation with him, but I didn't cite him in that discussion. And it wasn't one of my cited texts, but he credited it to me. And it's the first time I've seen that document. So, but remember, he'd seen my points. I had not seen his. So the advantage was very much with him, not with me. So obviously I didn't see it initially. It was only afterwards when John pointed it out to me. He said, read the whole context. And then I read it, and I was like, it flips it completely against me, against him, but massively in favour of me. We all know gravity's not a force, but they've got to fudge that it is a force. It's not. But they need it to be a force, otherwise we
don't know it's not a force. We think right now that it's not a force.
Well, Rumpus says it is a force. He's wrong, isn't he, Dawn?
All right. Well, he's probably talking about how it acts.
Right. So that's incorrect, because it completely contradicts the statement I've just made, but you start defending him. Amazing. Your priest.
Well, it's more likely you're lying about him.
Oh, really? That's 8th time you've projected this onto us, Dawn. 8th time. So again, rather than actually
I get the same
going on.
Any evidence of Rahu actually being a thing?
Oh, that's a distraction, red herring. So you're ever going to address this, Dawn? You've had about 3 or 4 people now point out that you're just letting your man get away with it. You're happy for him to lie to you then? We'll point it out because we're honest, but you'll project his dishonesty onto us for a 9th time.
What was the lie?
Or talk before I finish my sentence, which is typically your way of behaving here. So, is it going to be a 9th time of you projecting his ill deed onto us, or are you going to actually address that your man's lying to you, Dawn? It completely contradicts that statement. I still haven't got to the end of the statement, of course. It contradicts the statement that you just made. And when I pointed that out, you started defending him rather than addressing the fact that it contradicts what you just said. He says it's a force. You've pointed out it's not. So you're going to address that, Dawn, or just defend him and project his ill will onto us?
Okay, I'll address it. How did he word it when he said it's a force?
That's not addressing it. That's asking us. He said it's a force, and it's
I
not.
haven't
Listen,
seen it.
Dawn.
I don't know
You
exactly what he
I'm
said.
answering. You said it's a force. He said it's a force. You're saying it's not.
You should wait for you to finish your tea. You don't know.
I don't know exactly how he said it, so I don't know if it's a lie or not, you see.
He said gravity's a force.
What, just like that? That's all he said?
Yeah. Just like that. Clear?
Well, if I take your word for it, which is very hard to do.
Oh, is that a 9th time projecting this lie from Rumpus onto me in terms of me quoting what he's claimed? Yeah, he's claimed it's a force, Dawn. I'm not a liar, that's what he claimed. And his citation that he quote mine made it clear that it's not a force. But he picked out the bit that said it's kind of a bit like a force and just left out the bit where it makes it overtly clear that it isn't, like you just claimed. So, 9th time maybe of projecting his ill will onto us?
So now you guys are here, the superhero team, to point out Rumpus's lie.
Yeah, we know he's a lying, disingenuous sack of shit. We point it out on multiple occasions, and the fundies on his side of the argument just defend him, Dawn, like you're doing now. It's amazing, really.
Dawn, what's worse, the fact that we're pointing out his lie or the fact that he lied? What's worse?
The fact that you lied before you're pointing out his lies.
First of all, you didn't call us out on any lies. We're talking about Rumpus.
9th time he's projected that onto us. So Rumpus has lied, and it's 9th times of projecting it onto us rather than addressing
Fine,
it.
and he didn't lie. He was honest.
He was honest. No, he wasn't. Absolutely not. He said it's a force, and it's not.
Wow, dog.
It's not a force. That was made clear in the sentence that he left out. That's the argument that he was having for it being a force. He's just a liar, Dawn.
A lot of the time people say it's a force because it acts like a force. It might.
Well, they're wrong, because in the next sentence, the one that he left out made it quite clear that he's a disingenuous liar. Because the next sentence agreed with Anthony when he makes it overtly clear that it's not a force. Anthony's position, he just left that out because it doesn't agree with his position that he was taking, that it is a force when it isn't, Dawn.
People still say it.
Oh, right. Well, they're wrong, like Rumpus.
Maybe Rumpus is one of those people. I also...
What, wrong? Yeah, that's what we're pointing out, but you don't seem to want to be addressing it. Yeah, he could be one of those people that's wrong, and he knows he's wrong because he'd have had to have read the next sentence, wouldn't he? The one that said it's not a force, the position that he was contradicting.
I'm happy calling it a force sometimes. So.
Oh, right. So you're happy to defend a liar because it's not a force, Dawn.
Theoretical force. It's all theoretical. All of it's fourth dimension space-time brought back to Earth. He was honest and actually admitted that basically what they've done is they've taken theoretical science and natural science and combined them, and they've got everybody brainwashed. This is basically what's happened.
Okay, Nathan, I'm reading the quote. I'm reading Rumpus's quote on screen right now, and he says, generalized kind of force. However, it isn't
Dawn,
a
can you
force.
wait?
Sorry, those words didn't cross Rumpus's lips. Those words did not cross Rumpus's lips, Dawn.
David
Okay, whose quote am I reading?
You're reading the quote that he left out, our point. That bit that you just read out about it not being a force, Anthony's point, he did not read Dawn. Dawn, shut up. I'm pointing out that you've just read the quote in its entirety, and Rumpus did not. Now you're talking through me, Dawn, because this obviously makes your priest look bad. So you read it all. The guy misrepresenting it as being a force when it isn't didn't read that last section where it makes it clear that it's not a force. He just didn't read that, Dawn. Do you understand?
I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait for Rumpus's exact...
Oh, right. Because we're pointing it out, and you can project, 10 times onto us that we're the liars here. You need to double check with the liar. I see.
Well,
Stockholm Syndrome. That's what this is. What, you need to go and check with the liar and find out the liar's reasoning for his lies and his justification for his lies, rather than accepting that he just didn't read that bit out where it completely contradicts his point. You just don't want to accept that.
Go find it for yourself, Don.
And when you do,
No,
what
I'm
will you
not
do,
that
Dawn? Will you come here and say, my God, yeah, this man that tells me about how we live on a spinning space ball flying through a vacuum is lying and overtly leaving out sections that completely contradict the position he's telling me is true, which is that gravity's a force, when the statement he rejected, I wonder why he rejected it. Oh, would it be because he's claiming it is a force and the citation makes it absolutely plain that it isn't? Would that be why he left it out, do you think, Dawn? Maybe you'll address that when you come back and check that we're not making this up, that
If
he
you
is a
give me
liar.
the timestamp, if you send me the video with the timestamp.
No, Dawn. No, Dawn. We're not going to spoon feed you. We're just right. You just want to believe that we're wrong because it pisses in the face of your religion. The religion being punted to you by liars like Rumpus.
But here I am, and I've taken 15.
It's not even just that one paragraph. The article itself is named "If Gravity is Not a Force, How Do Objects Accelerate?"
Yeah, but you're accusing Rumpus of lying, so I need to hear exactly how he worded it.
He said it's a force. Let me tell you again. He asked me once, and I told him. He said gravity is a force. Yeah. I don't know how much more plain I can make this, Dawn.
Left a bit of the citation out.
Yeah, I just.
And he's claimed this how much
just told
times,
you.
even on the show.
Just told you. He's lying. He's saying it's a force. It's not.
Well,
as
I'll have to wait till I
made.
see how he
It
works.
seems every time I point this out, Dawn starts talking through me. Of course, because he doesn't want his priest to be wrong. He wants to go and ask him how he's right.
Dude, he's some weirdo on the internet. He's not my priest.
Yeah, well, why do you want to go and ask him why he's right? When we're pointing out how he's wrong. His position being it's a force. His citation saying it's kind of like a force. And then the next sentence, which he left off, says it absolutely isn't a force.
Leaving a sentence off doesn't make him a liar.
It makes him a quote miner, and it does make him a liar, because he's arguing the contrapositive. The contrapositive of the next statement, which he ignored.
You're allowed to leave a citation out and not be a liar, dude.
Oh, really? So if the statement is something along the lines of, people are allowed to walk on my grass, unless they're wearing shoes, in which case I will shoot them in the face with a shotgun, it's okay to leave off that last statement and watch people get shot in the face.
That's kind of different.
Oh, really? Well, in this instance, the bit he left off was the context that he was arguing against. So Anthony's position is gravity's not a force. Rumpus's position is yes, it is a force. His citation says, when read in its entirety, that it is not a force.
I'll agree, he maybe quote mined like you guys.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Quote mined to make the contrapositive position he's taking make sense, which it doesn't, making him a liar.
You do every day.
No, that's just the 11th time you've projected his ill will. So now that you've actually had it sink in, the pennies drop that he is definitely lying. Yeah? You just say, oh, well, I'll just put that down to quote mining. Yeah, lying. His position being completely undone by the bit he's quote mined from. Yeah? But in so doing, you want to immediately project that onto quantum eraser, someone who's not even here. Someone who's not even here. Someone's not even involved in this discussion.
Do you want me to mention one of your quote
It's literally
oh, here we go.
by the
That's
whole
12.
article,
That's
actually.
12 times. This 12 times he says, oh, he's not my priest. Why are you projecting his...
I'd like to see Don give an example for his accusation of quantum eraser quote mining.
Tell us, Dave, there.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Arwin. So we've given a really specific example.
Tell us,
Now
Dave, there.
you do it with QE. Go, Dawn.
Well, I was going to do it with you because that's what I offered to do.
But no,
I got
Arwin's challenged you to do it with
barometer.
QE. He was your first person that you brought up. So you've said just like QE does every day.
Okay. All right, you have to give me a chance to explain it. So you know the antecedent thing that you also guilty of the same one, so it works for both of you.
Don,
saying there's an antecedent.
Let him do it. Go ahead, Dawn.
No.
You're quote mining one definition, 5 definitions about gas pressure, and telling everybody this means atmospheric pressure must have a roof on the Earth. This is.
I have never, ever, ever, ever said those words, ever. So Dawn's a liar because he's just made up something that I have not said, because I unequivocally have not said that ever.
You have. You did it.
So put that shit in quotes. I'm going to eject you, because when asked to prove that we quote mine, that we are liars and disingenuous in what we say. What Dawn's done is made up a quote.
You're a lying cunt. I'm ready to leave.
Now, yeah, I'm going to kick you out in a second anyway. Hopefully he's left of his own volition when he realises that he's just made something up about me.
Thank God.
Like, that's it. These people project
You've
their...
always said you don't know what the sky is. Well, what's he saying here?
Now I'm saying there's a lid. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said it was a quote. That makes me furious. So he hasn't got a quote. He just makes one up. We're quoting...
You used the word roof.
We're quoting Rumpus.
Yeah, roof.
We're quoting Rumpus, not our context,
So we can get-
for his
so we
lies
can-
and deceit. And what
so we
Dawn
can-
does is just make up a quote to
we can-
contrast it with Rumpus's lies, but not with an actual quote, just something he makes up. This is the people we're dealing with. Scum.
Nathan.
David Dallas.
So we can say that
I
you know
expect
what
that
demonstration.
to happen, to be fair. Because
David
I
Dallas.
know Don says a lot of things without actually knowing anything about it. It's his trademark quality.
He just,
So I
he
knew
just
he was
believes. Okay.
happening.
10th man.
Dawn just learned the word
Can't find us
antecedent
something.
like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, David Dallas, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. When you came on, you were talking about Rumpus admitting about 4D space, but that wasn't the conversation we were having. We were talking about Rumpus quote mining. So why aren't you talking about the subject we were talking about?
Well, I listened to the interview or the courtroom battle last night with Rumpus, and it was the very first time that Rumpus has admitted that all of this conversation he ever has is all theoretical. He admits that
Right.
gravity's theoretical. He admitted it to everybody in the world. I thought it was a great moment in flat Earth history when we have one of these top guys admitting that basically it's all theoretical. That none of it. They act like it's a fact, but they finally admit that it's theoretical and it's just going from the fourth dimension, which we can't prove at all anyway. So you get my point.
Well, wasn't it called the general theory of
Top
relativity?
guys.
Wasn't it always theoretical?
I understand that, but they teach these kids, and we argue like these things are fact when we should be arguing that are they theoretical or not. That's the whole point. What they've done is they've taken these theoretical ideas and they've put them in and taught all these children and you and me and everybody else that this is true stuff, and it's not. It's all theoretical.
Right,
Science.
right. There's absolutely. And that's why this channel exists, and that's why every time they come on, we tear that down. But the conversation about Rumpus was quote mining, and you hadn't even offered any opinion on that.
Well, I don't remember him actually quote mining. From what I remember in the show, was the first time that he had actually admitted that all of this is theoretical.
No worries. So, are you there, Anthony? Can you hear us? Hopefully so. On the call. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't know if I'm going to be coming through loud
Is
enough.
the
Though,
warrior
Mike.
sleeping?
Okay.
Perfect. So, can you just explain how Rumpus quote mined, please?
So he brought up a citation from a guy that he knew that I was in contact with, a guy called, and Julian Bloomfield cannot identify what made Newton's apple initially start to move when the stalk snapped. He's said that I was going into the crazy world and whatever, and Rumpus has got that on the screen, which is great. But Rumpus brought up this citation from Julian Bloomfield that I did not bring up, but made it sound like I had. And I'd never seen it before. It was the first time. And in the citation, there was a particular part that said gravity kind of acts like a force. And then the second sentence it says, but it isn't actually. It literally says gravity is not a force. It's a kind of something. I can't remember the exact wording. If somebody has it on the screen, you can read it yourself and interpret it yourself. But Rumpus left off the second sentence. Now, I hadn't seen his response, but he had seen my challenge. So I didn't know what he was presenting until he did it there and then.
Now, we all know gravity is not a force, but Rumpus needs to find something. He needs to find weasel words. And the weasel word wouldn't be there if he hadn't have left off the second sentence. If he'd have read the second sentence, he wouldn't have been able to weasel out of it. So by leaving off the second sentence, removes the context, and it allows him to have wiggle room for a point that we all know doesn't exist. Gravity is not a force. Even if you think of it as a force, it's still not a force. So Rumpus has basically left off the second sentence to make it sound like there's a bit of wiggle room there. There isn't any wiggle room. Even if you think of gravity as a force, it's not a force. It can't make anything happen.
Rumpus said it's a theoretical force. Did you not pick up on him saying that this was all theoretical?
I did. I challenged him. I said, well, theoretical physics is pseudoscience.
I don't think they want to call it pseudoscience. I think if you ask them if it's theoretical, they'll admit it, that it's theoretical, that it's just basically their interpretation through math problems.
Sure, it's quite important to get that clarity, though, because it is pseudoscience. Pseudoscience being a non-application of the scientific method, where one is asserted to be taking place. Now, if you apply the scientific method, establish cause and effect relationships through systematic experimentation based on hypotheses, then you can formulate a scientific theory. Now, a scientific theory is backed by systematic experimentation that's been put through the scientific method, and a scientific theory is the explanation thereof once you've established your cause and effect relationships, which there might be multiples of, plant growth, for example. Anyway, the point being that a scientific theory has tons of validity, but what Rumpus is using is the colloquial term when he says theory. In other words, Mystic Meg theory, carnival theory.
Is all theoretical science pseudoscience?
Sorry, I just explained that. Didn't I just explain that 10 seconds ago? If you've got a scientific theory, it's the adherence to the scientific method. Establishment of cause and effect relationships through experimentation based on hypothesis. Now, once you've done that, you can form a scientific theory based on the results of an adherence to the scientific method. That's a scientific theory. Now, if you followed those steps, you can declare that you have a scientific theory. They do not. They who declare that this is all theory, yeah? Well, they're not talking about scientific theories. They're talking colloquially about Mystic Meg theories, bending of space-time, conceptual mediums giving rise to non-force forces that you can think of as... That's colloquial theory, yeah? Theory, but like Mystic Meg's got a theory about your future. Not backed by systematic experimentation. It's probably no coincidence that the two, which mean completely the opposite things, one, a made-up idea that you might have an idea about something happening in the future, or the other, something that's been backed by systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. So a scientific theory is very, very, very different to what they mean when they say theory. But that's exactly what you would do if you're a pseudoscientist. You haven't got any scientific theories, so you just use the word theory, lob off the word scientific, and don't highlight the fact that you've just made all the stuff up. You haven't performed any experimentation. But it's useful to use words that scientists do use, in this case theory, because it makes it sound like it's scientific-y, doesn't it? Well, no, a scientific theory is a very specific thing, which this is not. Even though they say the word theory, they mean colloquially.
I agree with you.
Yeah, where I'm from, they call it bullshit.
Yeah, just so stories. Yeah, so there we go.
Nathan, at some point, can we get back to the iron core question or the housekeeping question?
I don't know how far we got in housekeeping. Probably not to the end.
We got to the iron core.
At the molten core, that's true.
Yeah, I wanted to say something because there is a magnetic north. So there, I feel like there is a source of that, and there was a lot of information a couple hundred years ago about some type of lodestone castle, some type of very large magnetic rock.
Magnetic mountain.
Yeah, the Rupus Nigra was one of the interpretations of it, but I would think something could be maybe proven that there is maybe at the
North Pole some kind of very large magnetic rock. I think that would be interesting. Some kind of experiment, some kind of expedition.
You do realize the compass does not work in the top of the ball, right? For thousands and thousands of miles.
Oh yeah. I know that. I'm not talking about that.
Why would you think there's a magnetic rock if the compass doesn't even work up there?
Work up there?
Yeah, in the whole North Pole region, if you'll notice on any map, you'll notice that big circle that's where all the lines of latitude or longitude end. There's always a big circle there at the top of any map you look at. You understand the compass doesn't work inside that area, right?
It's a projection, by the way, so you don't know if that is a center point.
If you want to hear the continuation of this conversation, then you need to subscribe below in the info box to my second channel, Nathan Oakley, where this will continue later on this evening. However, if you're watching live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in, hopefully shared, subscribed, all that good stuff. And of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The earth
David
is
here.
flat.
David here.
Is.
Oh, there we are, David. So what do you mean it doesn't work at the North Pole? What does that mean exactly?
As soon as you pass the Canada coast about 500 miles, for thousands and thousands of miles in a giant circle on the top of the world, a compass no longer works. It'll just spin in circles as soon as you enter into this no compass zone.
I have never seen that before.
Yeah, I understand that.
Is there like a video of it, or is there any type of like demonstration of that, or is it just hearsay?
A map that'll show you where the compass doesn't work, and that's why they never went up into the North Pole and did any surveying up there, because their compasses didn't work.
Top of the world?
I don't know. I don't know if I would trust that information.
Could it possibly
I'd rather
be because
have
magnetic north isn't physical north, and it's not just spinning in circles, but it might just not be reliable?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have some kind of modern demonstration of that happening than some map that says it doesn't work right here, because there's a lot of information about the southern pole, a lot of that area that is also kind of occluded.
The compass does not work on the entire Arctic Ocean. You know where the Arctic Ocean is? The compass does not work in the Arctic Ocean at all. Zero. Does not work.
And
is there any demonstration of that?
Where'd you get that?
I'd like to see that.
You need to do some more research.
Where'd you get that source? Did you do it yourself?
Okay, you need to supply that. You're the one saying this.
I've already looked it up. I already know about it.
Right,
Okay,
so you should be able to
but
find
now you're claiming it to a bunch of people, and you need to support that claim with
You
some
need
of the
to-
things
No,
you've
he
looked
was-
at, some
he
of
was
your research.
claiming there was a magnetic rock at the
No,
top.
I wasn't. I wasn't claiming it.
We're not. Your claim is that in the Arctic Ocean, or as you go north from Canada 500 miles, then the compass no longer works. That's a claim you've made.
I was talking about
For
ideas
thousands of miles, you
that
said.
matter.
So we're going to need some type of citation and verification of this story that you're telling.
Unless you just pull it out of your ass, of course.
He said he looked it up and he got the info, so I'm sure you can just pass on where you got it
But
from.
if you'll just Google compass does not work.
We're not gonna Google that. That's not our thing
Well,
to do. That's yours.
Bring it back. Go ahead and finish your conversation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Just supply it. I would love to see that information, but that's not for me to look up right now.
Fingertips, but I have read this and confirmed it, and so.
I mean, are you at a computer? Just look it up, dude.
My keyboard.
Post it in the chat.
On this computer I'm on, my keyboard's broke. I'm not making excuses, but it really is.
Okay,
Fair enough. Fair
that's
enough.
fine.
But the point he's making is that it's not for him to go and look up. Typically, it's you who makes the claim that has to support it with evidence and citations for what you claim. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that it's not for him to look up, which is what he's saying, and he's absolutely right.
Well, one thing that I would like to say is why does the compass work at all? What is it pointing to? Exactly. And if it doesn't work at a certain point, like, is there some kind of interference in the field? Like, you don't know if that just doesn't mean that there isn't one. Like, there could still be one. It could just be some kind of interference.
Quick question for you. Is north always north?
Yeah, I don't know. It would depend.
I'll clarify that. Magnetic north.
I mean, there seems to be because of a compass. So
right. So would you say that north isn't absolute direction?
I would say that it is. That's a difficult question.
No, it's not. It is.
Yes, I would say from
It is.
certain. Yes, from every point.
It gets a bit messy.
It depends on what you're talking about, like what we're on.
To within certain accuracy, right? Because magnetic north is not exactly like geographic 90 degrees north latitude.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about a real north, I guess it would be maybe a tangent, but like a point where things meet. Do you see what I mean?
The celestial north, where the North Pole star is exactly above head.
No, that's not.
That is what it's supposed to be.
No, the two things are completely different. Magnetic and celestial north aren't the same.
Absolutely, but that is the real. Well, whatever the Earth realm is, that is what we considering the north.
Nathan, did you ask if magnetic north was an absolute direction? I wouldn't use the word absolute to describe it. I would use predictable. It's a predictable direction.
It's absolute.
Who's that? RC Meisty?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it was me that posed that question.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, it is a direction, but if it is what we're saying it is, if it is a very large magnetic substance, then it might not necessarily be some kind of... I mean, maybe it would just depend on the thing itself that is attracting the compass.
Right,
Yeah,
what
we do
do
have
you
some.
mean
We
that is
do
a
have something
large
called
magnetic
declination,
substance?
right?
Well, kind of like what we were saying earlier. Something has to produce that magnetic field,
Hold on a
right?
second. Say that again, Sleeping Warrior.
There is something called declination, which is an adjustment that we're told that we need to make because the magnetic north point drifts over a period of time. And it can be any number of degrees, like 15, 20 degrees in some cases, depending on where you are. But this is what they tell us is an adjustment based on magnetic drift. But the question is, well, what is it actually measuring? Is it measuring like a flagpole in the middle of the North Pole that's moving around? Is it the fields that they're lining up with? Why is there a declination? Why can't two observers in the south get their compass and both reliably rely on the compass to tell them where north is? Oh no, well you can't, because one of them's got to declinate by 10 degrees this way and the other one's 10 degrees the other way. And it's like, how do we know this is true? This makes no sense. It's like, is this true, or are they just telling us that because the continents don't line up?
Right, the declination would be
that makes
the way
sense.
the way the field lines up.
Yeah, and I use that all the time as a pilot. I actually have to look it up, and it changes from year to year. They actually publish this is how much you need to offset your compasses as.
RC, before you keep going, we don't want predictability. We want demonstratability.
What do you mean by that?
Like being able to demonstrate something.
Okay.
So just because something follows prediction.
That basing one's flight off of that declination produces, successful navigation? Is that not sufficient?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like, if something is predictable, then you can use reliable calculations and or reliable observations to make accurate
Yeah, but you can also do that with little g.
I mean, hold on. Sorry, I just want to challenge that. So I've heard several accounts. One from Martin, who I'll get hold of if you don't believe me. But he's described many journeys where they've got a specific hull speed that they know, and they can calculate the journey time based on the hull speed of the ship that they're on. And depending on which direction they go, they can have vastly different times in terms of the duration that it takes to go based on the lines that they're following. So they sometimes arrive in port a week early to what they thought. So the predictability aspect of it goes out the window when you hear accounts like that.
No, not necessarily, especially when you're talking about something that's moving through media that are extremely dynamic, like oceans.
On the contrary, they can calculate these things very accurately.
So what's the claim once more time, Nathan?
That people would arrive at different times. Like I say, I can see if I can get a hold of him and he can give you his own account rather than it coming second hand from me, because this hasn't happened to me. But when in the Merchant Navy, he found that you would be told this journey will take 2 weeks, and it would take a week.
Yeah, the other example of that is Rich from Mr. Thrive and Survive. He's ex-Navy, and he says the same thing. He said when he's in the Southern Hemisphere, they can be weeks out, and other times they can be in the Northern Hemisphere and get there really early, and they'd have to do a maneuver or a routine called boxing, which is basically you keep doing like the 4 sides to a square because you've got there way too early. How is that possible if it's predictable?
Exactly, that's precisely, that was much more concise than I gave with Martin's account, but Martin's account was exactly that. So in the Northern Hemisphere you'd arrive considerably earlier than you were expecting, and then you had to calculate it based on the maps and the hull speed. But in the Southern Hemisphere the opposite would happen, and you could find that the duration would be massively increased beyond what you were expecting, and you'd arrive massively late. So those are the accounts.
Because the Earth is pear-shaped.
I'm just saying those are the accounts that I've got. I'm just challenging the bit where you say, well, it's completely predictable.
Oh, I didn't say it was completely predictable. I said it's reliably predictable.
How is that reliable?
Well, it's not though, is it? That's what I'm saying.
So I'm also talking about airplane navigation versus ship navigation, which while based on the same principles, they're working with media that are significantly different and with data that doesn't allow them to predict with as much accuracy as with air.
Okay, keep going.
All I'm simply saying is that we originally went from the offset, right? Can we reliably predict offset based on northern and southern deviations that we have to plug into our compasses and use in aerial navigation? The answer is yes, we can do that, and it's published public information that you can check.
Yeah, but you can plug in lots of things. That doesn't mean that they substantiate reality.
Well, if you can then make accurate navigation from them, yes, it does substantiate reality.
I don't know about that. Because you can substantiate rocket calculations that has gravity in it. So,
okay.
I mean, what does that mean? That doesn't mean much to me.
Well, what it means is that little g, what you were referring to beforehand, is a reliable constant that we can use to actually then engineer things. So there's science, which is this idea of like observation and coming to like truth with evidence, but then there's engineering, which is like how can I use those things for my own benefit, that we
it's still an assumption though. Do you see how, like, even if it works, it's still an assumption,
right? But I mean, it would seem weird to have to take into account an effect that doesn't really exist.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to all of today's debating panel. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!